we'll move to Baltimore and the situation that's going on with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Just some thoughts here. Obviously, this is getting a little ridiculous. The Baltimore Ravens gave Lamar Jackson a non-exclusive franchise tag, which means he's essentially able to negotiate with other teams like he would be for a free agent or as a free agent. However, the Ravens are given the opportunity to match the offer and keep him under contract. It's very rare. This is the first time. I know it's been used in the past, but it's the first time it's really kind of been used on a player of Lamar Jackson's stature. Now, obviously, Lamar Jackson won a MVP. I'm almost positive it was unanimous, but don't hold me to that. But I know he's won an MVP. He's obviously one of the more exciting players in the NFL over the last few seasons. And this was kind of crazy. Currently, so under the non-exclusive franchise tag, he's playing for just north of $32 million. There are 13 quarterbacks that are getting paid more than Lamar Jackson. And up until 2 days ago, there were 12 before Jalen Hurts' contract, but 13 quarterbacks. And they include, no disrespect to these guys, but they're not at the same level as Lamar Jackson in my mind, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr. Now, once again, no disrespect to those guys. Get your money when you can. But if those guys are getting paid more than Lamar Jackson, that's frustrating. And what's very surprising to me is the reluctance of other teams that need a quarterback. I mean, you got Arthur Smith in Atlanta saying, nope, Desmond Ridder is our guy. You can't sit here and tell me you're not willing to give up a first round pick to have Lamar Jackson and be able to negotiate with a top 5 or top 10. I don't think you can deny that he's a top 10 quarterback. So that's interesting. I do wonder if the narrative of he quit on his franchise, more air quotes for our audio listeners only, going back to last year where maybe he didn't come back from injury as soon as everyone wanted him, but I will never blame him for that. I will say the only conceivable explanation is the narrative out there, and it's been shot down by Lamar Jackson multiple times, but apparently that Lamar wants a fully guaranteed contract, which I would be a little hesitant towards that as well. However, I'd still prefer a fully guaranteed Lamar Jackson over a Desmond Ridder, Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, blah, blah, blah. And the other part of it too, Lamar Jackson hasn't hired an agent. Now we're talking about a massive contract that he's expecting to get. I know you don't want to pay those fees, but you need to get someone who knows the ins and outs in there to negotiate on your behalf. And then also we're talking about a week ago, the Baltimore Ravens decided to give Odell Beckham Jr. $18 million, just an extra little slap, spit, kick in the shins, whatever you want to call it. It's really perplexing to me. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts on what's going on in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson?
It's an interesting and odd situation. He was the most valuable player in the 2019 season. I just looked it up for us. But if you look at that 2019 season and what has happened since then, he's taken a lot of beating. Mm-hmm. He's put a lot of miles on. He's taken a lot of beating. He hasn't been able to play at times. And again, whether it was legitimate or not, he did all those weeks towards the end of last year where like, no, sorry, guy, can't do it. Can't do it. My knee, my knee, my knee. And here's what we've got going. It's real elementary to me. First of all, it's like Olympic scoring. You throw out the high or the ridiculous. So Cleveland pays Watson $230-something million, which big mistake, set the bar way up there, which shame on Cleveland, but okay, if that's what you want to do, that's your money. It's like when your parents would give you money and say, okay, you can spend it however you want, but when it's gone, it's gone. And they go out and invest in this guy. That's a lot of money to pay for a bad character. Jalen Hurts, on the other side of that, $255 million. That is a deserved contract to me. He's got a lot left. He proved he could do it. Not only did he get to the playoffs, he got to the Holy Grail. He got the trophy. So, heck, this guy deserves it. Lamar's never done it. He's never gotten to the Super Bowl. He's never lost the Super Bowl. Yeah, he got the most valuable player, but at this point, you can't say that he is apples to apples with Jalen Hurts because I think he's had too many injuries right now. And the big thing for me, and you already hit on it, that's it. When you are talking anything at this level and you think you're going to represent yourself, you've got to absolutely be kidding me. You can't do that. I'm okay at contract work. I wouldn't think of sitting there and saying, I got this. I want to have people on either side of me. I want to have experts. I actually knew, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but I actually knew a gentleman, worked for him for many, many years, And he was a sports agent at one time. He was actually the agent for Alan Page of the Minnesota Vikings and several others. And boy, some of the stuff he told me about, real simple things he would do to negotiate. And along with the money up front, it was how to get those guarantees without making the team say it's a guarantee. Look, we're going to do it like this. This is how we structure. And I think Lamar would behoove himself to go out and retain somebody or some agency. There's plenty out there.
Yeah, I go back to this show was made late 90s, early 2000s, and it was obviously dramatized and more tongue-in-cheek than anything, but there was a show, it was called Arliss. I think it was on HBO or Showtime. It was one of those, pay-per-view type things, blah, blah, blah. And it was about, and I don't remember the actor, I could recognize his face, but he was a sports agent. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions with sports agents is, I'll see you every 3 or 4 years when I'm negotiating your contract. That's not the case. There are a lot of things going forward that you need representation for, whether it's endorsements, whether it's appearances, whether it's just, did you breach your contract because you went out and you rode on the back of your sister's cousin's bicycle or motorcycle? There are so many small fine-tooth comb that, let's be honest, the Baltimore Ravens have an entire staff of people whose entire job, as terrible as it is to write these little hiccups and these things that you can trip yourself up on, that if something were to happen, boom, breach a contract, negate the whole deal. And I don't care, and I'm sure Lamar Jackson is a very bright person, but I don't care how bright you are, unless your angle or your lane is sports contract negotiation and other things. Not only even this would be essentially his first contract negotiation, and it might be a top 5 deal ever, and he's trying to do it himself. I'm not going to judge anyone by the decisions they make, but I will sit here and say I think that's a part of this. I think the Ravens are probably lowballing him, but at the same time, I think the fact that Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent is why he's being lowballed. I'll tell you what, and I don't know if Scott Boras, I don't think he's in the NFL world. He's definitely in the MLB world. You don't lowball Scott Boras, because he'll just get up from the table and walk away. And unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, a lot of the leverage right now is towards Baltimore, because they can sit here and kind of say, what are you going to do? You have to sign that or you're not playing. And trust me, him not playing next year will not help his cause.
No, 1 year older. And
yeah. And it's a year out of the league, and who knows, Bryce Young, I don't know, one of these kids. I really do think Lamar Jackson is a better investment right now than these younger kids coming out, because you're still going to have to pay them 25, 30 a year on their rookie deals if they're a top 10 pick. What's another $7 million? And I do understand that the guarantee comes into it, and that scares people away. I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that this is happening. And I also want to say, in terms of Lamar Jackson last year not playing those final 5 or 6 games, look, I don't blame you. If that franchise has made it plainly obvious that they're not ready to invest in your future, you need to do what's best for you, especially the way Lamar Jackson played. You talk about a lot of miles on there. Well, 4 or 5 games, I'm sure there was a Steeler game in there. There was a game or two that, would have gotten a situation where, who knows, something happens. RG3 came out and said it. He goes, you got to do what you got to do. He always will regret playing in that playoff game. They were the Redskins back then, bringing it back to Dan Snyder, and that ruined RG3's career. We could have possibly seen something like that for Lamar without getting that big payday. And once again, yeah, these guys are paid a lot of money, but they have 10, 15 years to make that money. There is no pension age or the normal pension age for athletes. So it's a sticky situation. And I think the hardest part right now is we're only getting probably about 25 to 30% of the actual facts, which is fine. But looking at it with those facts, you just kind of have to shake your head and wonder what else is out there, because there is a lot more. So,
and that also plays back into the locker room to a degree. Mm-hmm. What's the coach? What is the offensive coordinator? How are they really supposed to develop their offensive scheme for the coming year if they don't know what's really going to happen? Because you're going to design that for Lamar Jackson if he's in. You're not going to design it the same way for another guy. Mm-hmm. So it's really too bad. This is now we're affecting the entire organization.
Exactly. And It's not like the Ravens are, had the success that the Patriots had to where Tom Brady left and it was like, okay, well, we had our fun, but it's time to move on. It's been
Right.
one Super Bowl, or well, at least in the Harbaugh era, one Super Bowl. And that's pretty much it. Even the 2019 MVP Lamar season, I think they were 1 or 2 seed, and I don't think they made it out of the divisional weekend. So, we'll see how that goes going forward.